Running a business means I wear lots of hats. Luckily, when it's time to put on my hiring hat, I can count on LinkedIn to make it easy. I can post a job for free or pay to promote it and get 3 times more qualified candidates. Imagine finding your next great hire in 24 hours. 86% of small businesses do. With LinkedIn, I can also easily share my job with my network. No other job site lets me do that. Post your free job at linkedin.com/achieve. That's linkedin.com/achieve. Terms and conditions apply.
Oh, Hilton stay. Your beds are soft and cozy. No lumpy couch, no stiff futon, no shower line at crack of dawn. Oh, Hilton stay, a holiday you're saving.
When you want holiday comfort you can count on, it matters where you stay. This season, enjoy spacious, comfortable rooms and friendly service when you book with Hilton instead. Hilton for the stay.
Here's my 30-second story with Guinness. As soon as my sister and I get home for the holidays, we don't even unpack. We head straight to our pub. The bartender already knows our order, Guinness and fries. We laugh all night, catch up with old friends, and walk home with faces sore from smiling. It's one of my favorite nights of the year. That was my 30-second story with Guinness.
Guinness Draft Stout. Please enjoy responsibly. Imported by Diageo Beer Company, USA, New York, New York.
Hello and welcome to The Price of Football, the show that looks at the money behind the beautiful game with me, producer Guy, standing in for Kevin Day and Liverpool University's Kieran Maguire. Hello, Kieran.
Guy, nice to meet you.
This is the last hello, Kieran, I'm going to say today. After this is, I think it's the 4th or 5th, so well, it's definitely 4th. I've lost count. Anyway, this is our episode coming out on December the 29th, so we hope you've had a lovely Christmas. Hope you're warming up for a nice new year. Wherever you are and wherever you're listening. So yeah, thank you for being with us over Christmas. We appreciate it as always. We've got a questions episode for you today. So we'll rattle through it so that we can have a lie down after this marathon. I know how you both feel now. I just send off the scripts for the Christmas break and sit back and relax, and then now I know how it feels to record 4 episodes in a day. So I take my hat off to you, as always. Right, first question is from, now bear with me, apologies if this pronunciation is wrong, Pieter-Jan Hillevert. Pieter-Jan says, I play Football Manager, and most of the time I play with a lower league team. The club often doesn't have much money, so I sign young, talented players. The problems start when they have their birthday, and then suddenly I no longer comply with the PSR rules, and I receive a transfer ban. Does this happen in the real world, or is this just a Football Manager thing? What a great question. Is this a real thing, Kieran, or is it just Football Manager?
This is potentially a real thing. This is because if you start playing football at the age of 16, you're effectively on an apprentice contract. Mm-hmm. You cannot sign even if you're 17, you're effectively restricted in terms of the length of. So your 18th birthday becomes very, very transformative. And if it turns out that you are a good player, then you will be signing your first professional contract, as it were. That is likely to come with a substantial pay rise, because by that stage, if Pieter-Jan has recruited the right talent, then everybody's going to be after that talent. So you protect your investment, and that's what football clubs are doing. Yeah, they're not saying, "Oh, you're 18, you're now responsible. We're going to give you lots of money to go and spend as you see fit." They will be ensuring that there will be buyout clauses that will be negotiated between the player's representative and the club, and we saw that with Erling Haaland. When he was in Germany. But Manchester City effectively got him for a knockdown price because that was built into his contract. But the player commits to having their registration at the current club for X years, and that will drive up the wages, and that will have a knock-on impact as far as PSR or even SCR compliance is concerned, and that could therefore result in a ban.
So is this more of a administrative error within the Football Manager game, in the sense that these players should have been given a professional contract on their 16th birthday?
Well, it looks as if they will have been given a new contract on new wages within Football Manager, and that's automatically
Okay.
come through. And as a result of that, your overall wage bill has increased. You've gone above your PSR limit,
Yes.
and then you get the accountants who wear the underpants on the outside of their trousers coming to visit to give you the appropriate sanctions.
Sorry, yes, I misunderstood. So it's because they've automatically switched to professional contracts, therefore coming under the regulations. Got it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so that is a real thing. So great. I love that question. That's brilliant. Our next one is from Dan Kerr, who says one of the initiatives that the Birmingham City owners have launched to pump money into the club focuses around social media interactions. For every X number of social media interactions the club generates, they gain X pounds from Nighthead as a bonus. So the justification behind this is that it generates advertising for Nighthead, the owners. So they are essentially paying the club to advertise and gets around profit and sustainability rules, as it's not just pumping money into the club for nothing, it's actually generated income. So the question is from Dan, is this as good a deal as it seems? Also, if it is a good deal, why aren't other clubs doing it? It's a great question.
Right. I spoke to my secret social media individual, and I think he or she is a part-time lawyer, because their answer was, it depends. And the reason for this is that Nighthead might be paying some form of commission fee to Birmingham City, but as we know from our utilization of social media, you don't make very much money anyway from social media. You've got to do an awful lot of hits. I've got 140,000 followers on Twitter. I get a payment each month from Twitter, and I put out quite a lot of content. And I'm normally getting something like $30 a month. So yes, Birmingham City will have far more followers than I have, but as anybody that's worked in the music industry will be able to confirm, in respect of what happens to them on Spotify, you have to have an awful lot of downloads before you get a pound or two. It's the same on YouTube. So I can't see Birmingham necessarily making huge sums. So they're getting a small sum, and presumably Nighthead must be paying them a fraction of that as a bonus. If they are paying a lot of money as a bonus, then I think that would call into question the the fair market value concerns that the football authorities have in terms of transactions between related parties. So I think it's a good idea. You're absolutely right, Dan. It's not pumping money in, but I would be surprised if that money was actually moving the dial significantly. Birmingham are having a fantastic time. There's a buzz about the club at present, which I think is absolutely great. But I don't think that this will be a major number as far as the broader finances of the club are concerned. And that's probably why it's not been replicated by other clubs.
You mentioned you have to have a massive amount of views, don't you, to generate any sort of social media revenue, really. But it does feel like this is more something that's separate from that revenue, that it was more of a bonus for increasing the visibility of the club, that the owners want the visibility to be increased via social media. So how valuable is it for clubs, away from the actual revenue that they would or would not receive from the social media companies? How big a deal is it for clubs to increase their sort of social media interactions, footprint globally, I guess?
If you are a major brand, and and I hate to use that phrase, but this is how Offshore Jim describes Manchester United, and that's not a dig at the club, or it is a dig at the individual. But people know my views on him. Then you want to be able to go to potential commercial partners, to potential sponsors, and say, look, we are Manchester United. If you want to be our official soft drinks partner or our official IT security partner, this is the number of interactions we generate. This is just how big we are. So it's used as part of the sales pitch.
Yeah.
And people will then realize is that if you click on the Manchester United website, or if you take a look at a Manchester United Insta post or a tweet, whatever it's going to be, then your sponsorship potentially is going to be in the background to that, and that's going to go out, and that's going to that's going to go into so many, millions upon millions of eyeballs. And that can be used to justify the price which is trying to be negotiated by the commercial department of the club. So that's the way it operates. It's an ancillary to the broader issue.
Yeah, so it's not the revenue it generates itself; it's more the audience figures that it kind of creates in terms of then selling the club to marketers, to advertisers, etc.
That's
on
right.
different platforms. Yeah.
I mean, if you're ITV, for example, I'm a Celebrity is a successful show because of the ratings, and then ITV said, right, this is the number of interactions we have. If you therefore want to advertise your product during an ad break on I'm a Celebrity, it's going to cost you an extra 50 or 60% over an episode of. I'm not big on television, Loose Women or the evening news, because it's numbers generate numbers.
Got it. Yeah. All right. Our next question is from Perry Erkin, who says, a number of your episodes have discussed associated party transactions. And I've been wondering why, instead of creating their own rules, which apparently have been successfully in part challenged by Manchester City, the Premier League and other soccer governing authorities don't instead leverage the rules regarding transfer pricing between affiliates of multinational companies which are administered by taxing authorities of governments throughout the world. It's a good question, this, isn't it? Because, as Perry says, there are already laws around transfer pricing, which is essentially what it is, isn't it? Associated party transactions. So why would the football authorities have their own version of these rules rather than just use the accounting or financial laws that already exist?
Well, the reason for that, Perry, is that the rules which are applied by the tax authorities, especially those that have good relationships between different countries, those rules are addressing the issue of tax avoidance. And for people not familiar with how the system works, let's say that I manufacture a mobile phone in the United States, and I'm going to be taxed at 30% on any profit. So let's say it costs me £100 to manufacture. I'm going to sell it for £300, so I'm making £200 of profit. £200 at 25% means I'm going to pay £50 tax on each one sold. Therefore, why not sell it for £110 or dollars, whatever it's going to be, to I'll make it up, the Turks and Caicos Islands. So we're going to sell it to a wholesaler in Turks and Caicos Islands for 110. So therefore, we're now making 25% tax on £10 worth of profits. And in the Turks and Caicos Islands, the rate of tax is 5%. The Turks and Caicos Islands then sell it to the UK for £300. They make a lot of profit, and they pay 5% tax instead of 25% tax that you're being applied in the United States. So that is how transfer pricing works in the world of corporates, because the objective is to minimize tax. When it comes to associated party transactions in the world of football, tax is a non-consideration. And the reason for that, football clubs lose money. The football clubs don't pay tax. So what are the driving forces of associated party transactions? The driving forces is one of maximizing revenue for a club which is going to be assessed under the PSR rules, SCR rules, whatever it's going to be. And therefore, what you're trying to do is to overstate revenues as much as you can. You're trying to go to the utmost limit in terms of what is a fair price. And because you've got different objectives and different parameters, it therefore would not make logical sense to apply the tax rules that exist between these different governments. But I absolutely understand the logic of where Perry's coming from. The issue is that we're looking for different things.
So, what is the key? Just forgive me if you've kind of answered this already, but is it the same thing? Transfer pricing and sort of associated party transactions. Is it pretty much the same thing, or is there a way to define a difference between them?
No, it is the transfer pricing is using relationships between different organizations to
Under the same
accelerate
umbrella.
revenues. Yeah, to accelerate revenues and decrease costs. So if I'm Facebook, where do I want to make my profits? Because if you look, Facebook, they employ an awful lot of people in Liechtenstein and Dublin, Bigorra, and the equivalent of whatever is they say in Liechtenstein for Bigorra. So all of the profits are made in those countries where they have the lowest tax rates. If you've got an MCO, and that would be a good example. If I've got an MCO where I've got a Premier League club who also own a club in Portugal, and that club in Portugal is not qualifying for UEFA, therefore it's not subject to any rules. You park all of the profits in the Premier League club because you're trying to avoid an SCR breach and so on. If you take a look at the accounts of City Football Group, which owns, it's around about 8 clubs dotted around the world, and those of Manchester City. Manchester City generates, I think, around about, it's something like 90% of the revenue, but only incurs 75% of the costs of the City Football Group. Why is that? Because if I've got central services, so let's say I've got a HR function, or I've got a finance function, or I've got a legal function for the City Football Group. If I've got 8 clubs, why not split it evenly between 8 clubs? That seems fair enough. Whereas you might say, well, actually, I think City's a bit bigger, and there's ways that you can shift money around in a group to benefit whatever your target objective is.
If you've shopped online, chances are you've bought from a business powered by Shopify. You know that purple Shop Pay button you see at checkout? The one that makes buying so incredibly easy? That's Shopify. And there's a reason so many businesses sell with it, because Shopify makes it incredibly easy to start and run your business. Shopify is the commerce platform behind 10% of all e-commerce in the US. Sign up for your $1 per month trial and start selling today at shopify.com/promo. Go to shopify.com/promo.
Hello, I'm Diane Morgan. If you know who I am, you know who I am. If you don't, who cares? I'm here to explain Italian Time, a holiday phenomenon where Italians throw away their clocks and gather for eternity with San Pellegrino. I've been at this party so long that I've eaten 5 courses, hugged someone's grandma twice, and been offered a job in the family restaurant. So this holiday season, make sure to bring enough San Pellegrino to last you through the meal, the after meal, and the entire goodbye ritual. San Pellegrino, holiday on Italian Time.
And I guess finally on this, it's fair to say that this is one of the big challenges for governments around the world, for regulatory bodies, associations, to try and, because we have the world, it's not just a single owner owning a football club in a town. We now have these organizations, MCOs, multi-club ownership models, don't we, where there are clubs, and same with Facebook, with Apple, there are offices, there are operations in multiple countries, multiple jurisdictions, but they're essentially under one umbrella, so that the sort of umbrella, the company at the top of it, or there's a system, or there's a team of accountants who can essentially place the money where they want to a certain degree, can't they, within that multinational structure?
Yes, and it can be quite difficult to follow. A firm of accountants that I used to work for, they were involved in the post Robert Maxwell passing of investigating the mess in his companies, and transfer pricing there, I think it was fair to say, was bewildering. It was as a real minefield. Robert Maxwell once told me to F off, by the way. It's sort of, celebrity swears.
Brilliant.
This sort of an indicator of the bonhomie of the man.
Yeah.
We'd been appointed as administrators of it was a printing company. I think it was in Oldham or Bury or something, and Maxwell were quite significant creditors, so it was quite a high profile job. And I was sort of the junior member of the team. I was about 24 at the time, just qualified as an accountant. So my job, we'd hired out Manchester Town Hall for a creditors meeting because we knew it was going to be a lot of people turning up. It was quite a high profile job. And my job was to simply to say, have your name, firm you represent, just to check that they were genuine creditors, not journalists or troublemakers. And that was fine. And it was saying, you've been to Manchester Town Hall. It's a magnificent building.
It is.
Is the big inflatable centre still there? Or has that been?
We were discussing this the other day. I think the big inflatable Santa now resides on Central Library or outside Central Library most of the time. Yeah,
okay.
I don't know because they've been doing up the Manchester Town Hall for the last couple of years.
Yes.
I'm not sure if Santa's returned. I will investigate and I will find out.
Our audience need to know.
Yeah, the last few years has been on Central Library, just next door.
Oh, fair.
Yeah, I'll confirm.
So I'm at the front day with clipboard, as you would expect from a man of my personality and dweebiness. So I'm there with my clipboard ticking names off, and Robert Maxwell he walks towards me and he's got I think Kevin and Ian, who are his two sons. They were sort of trailing, a bit like a tugboat following a cruise liner. And I thought, I'm not going to say, "Oh, you're Robert Maxwell." I'm going to say, "Can I have your name, please, sir?"
Yeah.
And he looked at me. And goes, "Maxwell." Okay. And I go, "Which company did you represent?" He gave me the name of the creditor. So I can prove that. And he had this enormous cigar.
Oh,
and
nice.
I said, "Oh, I'm really sorry, sir, but Manchester Council has a no smoking policy on its premises for the town hall, especially for a meeting of this size. Would you mind extinguishing your cigar?" Fuck off. And then he marched to the front. I mean, this was sort of indicative of his character. He marched to the front of the hall. Everybody sort of rose up. I put out rows of seats, very much in line,
Nice.
As you would expect.
Yeah.
He marched to the front of the row and tried to sit in the seat which had been reserved for the panel for the administrators. He was not a very pleasant man. Not that I wish ill death upon anybody, but he was not a very pleasant individual.
No, happy memories. Right, our final question of 2025, in fact, is from Richard Bagley. Thanks for your question, Richard. He says, how about if a club overspends by a certain amount, they have to pay the EFL the same amount, and it's then shared evenly between all EFL clubs? That way, naughty clubs pay, and it saves the EFL asking the Premier League for a handout. No football fan really wants points deductions to decide who goes down. So I guess, this is a different way of enforcing the financial regulations, I guess, isn't it? If a club overspends, they get them to pay them back and then share that evenly between the clubs. Could that work?
Yes, it could. I mean, this is one of the things that I've suggested, that we have some form of luxury tax operating within football. So you set an agreed budget which applies to all clubs, and if you want to go above that sum, so let's say that it's going to be the agreed budget is going to be on player wages, amortization, agents fees, a bit similar to what we've got in SCR. If you want to go above that, then and I would set it quite high. I think they do this in think they might do this in baseball, and I think it's set at 100%. I'd probably even set it higher than that. So if you want to spend an extra £100 million on players, fill your boots, you've got to pay £500 million of tax or your super tax to the Premier League or the EFL, whoever it's going to be, and then that money is split. 25% goes to other clubs in the Premier League, 25% goes to the EFL, 50% goes to grassroots. How you divide it. And that means, I think, two things. If you set the tax rate at a sufficiently high rate, even an incredibly wealthy individual would twitch and balk a bit. So it means that you're not going to have somebody who can, for a better phrase, buy the league. At the same time, if you've got a new owner who wants to accelerate the success of the club, does have extremely deep pockets, then this does allow them to catch up with the other elite clubs that much faster. And if that improves the competitive balance of the league, all the other clubs benefit, as does grassroots football. So yes, it can be done. Applying it won't necessarily be easy, but the Premier League and the EFL and the independent regulator, they all employ plenty of people who know how to work their way around a spreadsheet.
Thanks for your question, Richard. Hope that answers it. And thanks to everyone who has sent in a question this year and the previous years. We love getting your questions. Kieran loves getting his spreadsheets out to answer them. So yeah, thank you. It's a massive part of the show, receiving your questions, and we're always delighted to receive them. And it's always fascinating to answer them. So thank you. And thanks to everyone who's joined the Price Football Club. If you'd like to join it too and get every episode a day earlier than everyone else, ad-free listening, invites to our monthly Q&A sessions and Christmas quizzes and summer quizzes, bonus episodes and loads more, go to our website, priceoffootball.com. If you have a question you'd like answered on the show, email us at questions@priceoffootball.com. And don't forget, you can follow us on X and you can find us on YouTube. Kieran, any final words, 2025?
Have a fantastic World Cup. Yeah, it's going to be a great World Cup. We'll be moaning about it until the very first match, and then a bit like you're in Men in Black, guy, where somebody's just seen an alien and had an encounter, and they go up to them with that magic pen, and and you forget. Right, as soon as the first match kicks off, all of the moaning that we've been doing for the last 6 months and for the next 6 months, all of that will disappear. And the fascination that you will have for Switzerland versus Haiti, you don't realise that you've lived until you've watched those matches. And I would just like to say to the publicans in Scotland in particular, having seen the kickoff times, you might need to take on some extra staff in June.
Are you volunteering there, Kieran?
Well, yeah, I mean, the Baroness, she's from Edinburgh, so
there you go.
We have actually spoken to somebody very senior in Scottish football about doing a Scottish tour in 2026.
Okay.
So yeah, I've had tentative discussions with Falkirk. We might be going to Hampden Park, and we'd like to do somewhere in the north. So I don't know if Aberdeen or one of the Dundee clubs fancy. We'd like to sort of do 3 or 4 shows in Scotland.
Amazing. Well, we need to get Kevin back to full fitness for that.
We do, absolutely.
Yeah. The physios are working on him as we speak.
Yes.
All right. Thanks for everything in 2025. We'll see you next year. Thank you. See ya.
Bye.
The Price of Football. The Price of Football.
Two kinds of fishing out here. One for fish, one for your data. Hackers try to hook you, but Cisco Duo keeps every user and device protected. Cisco Duo. Fishing season is over. Learn more at duo.com.